Elon Musk has had his fair share of space-related issues in recent weeks, but it appears that a Spacex rocket crashing into the moon is no longer on his to-do list. Want to know who has taken his place? Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, Elon Musk Evolution, where we tell you all the latest news about Elon Musk and his multi-billion-dollar companies. In today's video, we are going to tell you that the rocket that is about to crash into the moon is not Elon's, and he is not the one to put everything on. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our incredible videos. According to astronomers, a rocket part that is scheduled to crash into the moon in March did not originate from Elon Musk's space exploration company, as previously thought. Instead, they believe it is most likely a Chinese rocket stage that was launched in 2014 for a lunar mission. According to scientists, the impact of the collision with the moon will be minor. Well, Elon Musk is definitely freaking out right now, screaming, "It's not SpaceX this time, you guys." On January 4th, astronomers discovered a piece of machinery on its way to collide with the moon. Space junk is machinery that is left in space after missions are completed but not returned to Earth's atmosphere. The object was identified as a Falcon 9 booster from the 2015 launch by billionaire Elon Musk's space exploration company Spacex, according to data analyst Bill Gray. Journalist Eric Berger later covered the story. Mr. Musk's company aspires to one day have humans living on other worlds. Mr. Gray now claims that he made a mistake and that the rocket that sent a small spacecraft to the moon in October 2014 was part of China's Chang'e 5T1 mission. Professor Jonathan McDowell of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics in the United States told BBC News that he agrees with Mr. Gray's re-evaluation. He explained that identifying space debris far from Earth involves a lot of intrinsic uncertainty, and that mistakes do happen. He explained that there are limited resources for tracking space debris and relying on a small group of volunteers who give their time freely. As a result, cross-checking is limited. A team from the U.S. Military Space Force monitors objects close to Earth, but junk farther out in deep orbit goes unnoticed. This still evolving finding underscores the need for enhanced space tracking, as well as a greater data sharing between spacecraft operators, launch providers, and the astronomy and space surveillance communities, the European Space Agency said. Professor McDowell claims to be 80% certain that the object on its way to the moon is from a Chinese rocket launched in 2014. Professor McDowell told BBC News when the object was first discovered that it would be the first known uncontrolled rocket collision with the moon. As soon as the rocket stage makes contact with the ground, it will explode. But the question here is, why did astronomers put SpaceX on the suspect list and think it's a SpaceX rocket stage? The rocket stage was first discovered in early 2015 by the Catalina Sky Survey at the University of Arizona, which scans the skies and tracks objects like comets on trajectories that will bring them close to Earth. The mysterious object was seen speeding past the moon. Initially, astronomers suspected it was an asteroid, but that was quickly ruled out when the mysterious object began to circle our planet, behaving much like something humans had thrown up there. On the other hand, an asteroid would orbit the sun. Mr. Gray and others suspected it was staged from SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket that had just launched, with the sun monikering atop it just days before the mystery object was discovered. Mr. Gray wrote, "The object had about the brightness he would expect, had appeared at the exact time, and was moving in a reasonable orbit." Until Mr. Gray received an email on Saturday that was generally accepted. So, another question. What does it have to do with the Chinese rocket? John Giorgini, an engineer at Caltech's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, sent the email. Mr. Giorgini created Horizons, an online database that tracks everything that moves in our solar system from the sun to individual spacecraft. The Falcon 9 rocket's trajectory did not take it close enough to the moon, according to the Horizons system, for it to be a mystery object first discovered by the Catalina Sky Survey in 2015. So Mr. Gray looked for more launches. On October 23, 2014, China's Chang'e 5T1 was launched in a three-stage rocket. The mission served as a sort of dry run for a larger, more ambitious mission to return fresh moon rocks to Earth for the first time in decades. The real mission, Chang'e 5, wouldn't arrive on the moon until the end of 2020, after successfully landing on the surface, drilling a few meters down, and returning with a cargo of lunar rocks and dust. Chang'e 5T1 was a sample return capsule attached to a spacecraft that was sent out to do a lap around the moon before returning to Earth in 2014. The capsule detached itself from the spacecraft, re-entered the atmosphere, and landed safely in Mongolia. The rocket stages, meanwhile, were left to float around in space. According to Mr. Gray, The projectile's identity has changed, but everything else has remained the same. The rocket stage will still crash in the Hertzsprung crater on Friday, March 4th at 11:25:58 a.m. AEDT, give or take a few seconds. More rocket parts are likely to slam into the moon's hard, unforgiving surface in the future, according to RMIT University space scientist Brett Carter. This type of thing is set to become more commonplace as human activity increases, particularly as part of the Artemis program, and we send people back to the moon as a platform to get to Mars. SpaceX has taken some heat for its misleading role in the incident, but the space company, as well as China's National Space Administration, are simply doing what other space agencies have been doing for decades. Bringing equipment like spent rocket stages back to Earth, especially those that travel as far as the moon, is simply too expensive. Dr. Carter made a long explanation starting with, "It's also worth highlighting that tracking this object was not a focus of the people that launched it, nor was it a focus of the major space agencies around the world. Because rocket stages that propel spacecraft to the farthest reaches of Earth's orbit rarely collide with communications satellites, which are considered in low Earth orbit, this is the case. That's where Spacex has recently run into problems. The Earth's atmosphere was puffed up by a burst of radiation from the sun, and a group of newly launched Starlink internet satellites orbiting the planet around 200 kilometers up found themselves in much denser atmosphere than expected. More drag comes with more density, and this pulls at least 40 to 49 satellites down, where they burn and disintegrate upon re-entry." He further said that SpaceX is launching thousands of satellites, and some of them will simply not work up there. On the other hand, launching swarms of satellites into low Earth orbit is a good idea. You can just leave those who get up there and don't work alone, and they'll decay and burn up. You turn on the ones that work and use the onboard thrusters to raise their orbits to operational altitudes, says the doc. However, in the coming years, things will heat up. This is due to the fact that the sun's activity follows an 11-year cycle, and it is currently approaching the solar maximum. SpaceX, for example, will have to deal with more burps and blasts from the sun. SpaceX will have to strike a balance between deploying a low enough altitude to ensure that any malfunctioning satellites are brought down by drag, and high enough altitudes to allow them to complete their initial testing, and presumably below the altitude of the International Space Station, so that no one is put in danger. Whatever the source of the space object, it is expected to collide with the moon on March 4th. However, because the moon lacks an atmosphere to shield it from space debris, it frequently accumulates naturally occurring impact craters. The scientific community has expressed no concern. The event has been named an exciting research opportunity, which plans to use its Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter probe to observe the crater that will be formed by the explosion of this object, by using cameras and comparing images taken before the impact versus images taken after the impact. The search for the impact crater will be difficult and time-consuming, possibly taking weeks or months. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a like and share it with your friends and family. Let us know if you have any questions or comments in the section below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more of our incredible videos. You can also watch our other videos that have been specially selected for you. We look forward to seeing you